Hi everyone, welcome to Wednesday. We have to choose from. We have this stone right here. I think I call it my unique stone. Sometimes, you know, I get these crystals and these stones. This is going to be dealing with family, by the way. So this is our family stone. Sometimes I get like gems or stones, and I try to do like spells to sort of imprint the intention, but then if I don't like do it intensely enough, I forget their meaning. So like whatever imprint I imprinted on them doesn't work. This is my industry stone. Let's see what subject we pulled. Legal. This is going to be a legal situation. Well, I'll get to it then. And then this is my heart stone. So this is my stone of self-love, but I also have a sweet little anecdote I'll get to whenever we do the reading. And this is going to be Dark Night of the Soul. Interesting. We have self-love and Dark Night of the Soul. So let's start with family. If you chose this stone, you have family. You have no need to do, lazy, sitting in the hammock. We have wonder. Okay. We have come together, reversed. We have acceptance, 5 of Cups. Immediately, the situation I'm getting is that some of you are going through a divorce, or your parents are going through a divorce, or someone in your family is going through this big slip, this big separation, this big split, because we have this come together reversed. You know, this is like coming apart. It's not coming together. Another interpretation could be that your family members can't see eye to eye on things. That may or may not include you. You may be in the middle, or you may be part of the kerfuffle. But I do think it's divorce. We have the 5 of Cups right here, which is usually, they say crying over spilled milk, but I do think it's like about grief. And so that's why I labeled this acceptance, because I always see it as kind of like the 5 stages of grief, like 5 cups, 5 stages. And a big misconception about the 5 stages of grief is that you experience one phase of grief, you know, whether it's denial, whether it's anger, whether it's bargaining. You go through all the stages and then you're done. But actually, I took this grief class, actually what ends up happening, and if you've ever lost someone yourself, then you know it's just a cyclical thing. Like you experience those 5 stages in no particular order over and over and over again. But what happens is you get better at managing it. So the people I have lost in my life, and for some of you this could have been a death in the family that has caused your family to break apart. For example, whenever my grandmother passed away, it was hard on a lot of us because she was kind of like the rock of the family. And so whenever she passed away, there were some tensions that were created among my mom and her siblings. And that can definitely happen. Sometimes it has to do with wealth and inheritance, right? Like who gets what in mom's will after she passes away. And that could, some of that is actually part of the anger process that people don't recognize, right? Like they're angry that God took their mom away, so they take it out on their siblings, stuff like that. So this could definitely be someone who, a family member who has crossed over. It could also be divorce, and even though they have not died, that relationship is dead. And so that requires some stages of grief. So even if you like break up with someone, you still experience those 5 stages again in no particular order over and over again. But the thing is you get better at managing that grief, you get better at managing that pain. But you can't master that pain, you can't master that grief if you avoid dealing with that pain. So whenever people say that the Five of Cups is a card about crying over spilled milk, I kind of like tense up a little bit, and even I do it, like I call it that sometimes too, but it's like crying over spilled milk. It's like you have to cry over spilled milk to like get it out of your system, right, to process that pain. So if you don't process that pain, then those cycles of grief are going to continue. They are going to repeat themselves. You're just going to have a harder time managing it. When I see this no need to do with this little guy sitting in the hammock, this fox, it looks like he has a, oh, maybe that's his tail. I thought it was like a quill, like he was writing something, so that might be significant. I think this is only for a select few of you out there, but if you're like a writer and your family thinks that you don't work, right, that your family thinks you don't do anything, and actually like being a writer is kind of hard work. I mean, like, anyway, whatever. And there's a lot of wonder. You know what I think it is? I think, for those of you who this is resonating, they feel like you're a lazy bum, like you're not doing anything, right? You're just sitting in your hammock, no need to do. And you have all these family members outside like wondering like, what is she doing? What is he doing? Why is he not doing anything, right? It seems like I feel like you're doing a lot more behind the scenes than what others can see on the surface, and that might be frustrating to your family members. This could also be something like, because I mentioned divorce, it could be like your family, like the family is painting this picture of like this deadbeat dad, when really like the dad is paying his child support, the dad is doing the best he can. It's just they are angry that the situation died, so they have to peg it on someone. I'm like I know some of you hate it whenever we share personal experiences, but I can tell you a lot of empaths have gone through a lot of the stuff you have, because we are meant to bring you understanding to the situation by living it ourselves. So I do want to say that whenever my parents divorced, my dad's parents did not take it as well as everyone else did. They were very religious, and so that had to do with it. But also they just didn't want to see my dad hurt, you know. And so my granddad, he said a lot of hateful and just untrue stuff about my mom, but it was a result of him being angry that my dad was hurting, that relationship ended, so they needed like a scapegoat to pin their anger on, right? Instead of like being angry that, you know, God couldn't make it work or something. They needed this enemy to release their anger on. So it's something like that. And the family is looking in on someone who they deem is lazy, who they deem is not doing anything. But I feel like this person is doing stuff behind the scenes that they're not getting credit for. They may do things that, you know, they may like clean the kitchen, but they're not going to say, could you give me a cookie please for cleaning the kitchen, right? It's like they may do thankless jobs just like out of habit, and no one sees all that they do behind the scenes. But I do not feel like this person who is deemed lazy, whether it's someone you think is lazy or whether you are the person who everyone else thinks is lazy, I don't think that's actually the case. I just feel like people are experiencing grief as a result of some sort of loss. It could even be like loss of a job, you know, like falling down the social ladder, and so like a rich family all of a sudden becoming like a middle class family or something like that, right? But there's some sort of scapegoat in this situation. There was some sort of loss that happened, and the family is in a state of grief, and so whoever this lazy person is that isn't really lazy, they are the unfortunate scapegoats of this grief. Everyone wants in on their business. Everyone's nosy on their business. Let's get some clarifiers. Spirit, could you clarify for me, please? Acceptance, come together, wonder, and no need to do. One more. I also feel like, although it's shitty that the other family members are using this scapegoat, are using this person as a scapegoat, I feel like in the process they're kind of bonding, like they're inadvertently coming together in this sort of gossip about the other person type of thing. So something good is coming out of it, but I don't feel like this person is lazy. We have the Two of Cups, so it definitely could be a divorce situation. We have the Queen of Cups, and we have the Five of Swords. You know, there may be a character in this situation independent of this person, independent of this lazy person. Could be a mom, could be a wife of some kind, but this is a person who is emotionally manipulative. The Queen of Cups reversed could be dealing with Cancer, Scorpio, or Pisces, but the Queen of Cups reversed is someone who is a nag, someone who guilt trips, someone who uses feelings to manipulate others, right? She can make you feel like guilty and shameful. So I feel like this person, she may be respected in your family. She may be the matriarch, grandma, mom, sister, something like that, is manipulating the group in that way, right? And I feel this is someone who can cry crocodile tears and like play victim, you know? So this person is making a scapegoat out of this person. This person is not actually lazy, but this is the person, the little emotional manipulator, who is causing the conflict. There's not actually a conflict, but there's someone who is saying another family member is lazy when they are not, saying that they're deadbeats who don't work when they do, and they're not deadbeats. But it's someone who is going to like blame and cry about situations. So be careful about that person. If you're that person, watch yourself, check your energy, and if you know who this person is, maybe you can talk to them about the situation. But in any case, this nag, right, this guilt tripper, she's manipulating emotions because she's having a hard time dealing with this loss, dealing with this pain. And so, again, this is a scapegoat situation. She's turning this person into the scapegoat because she's having a hard time processing that grief. So, if you recognize this in this family member that you're dealing with, then talk to her about grief. Talk to her about the loss, because she probably just needs someone to talk to, someone who can listen to her and, you know, have a shoulder to cry on. Because right now she is going about it in an underhanded way. Anyway, let me know if that resonated. I love you very much. I will see you next time. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. And oh, if you would like to win a Morgan-GREER Tarot in a 10 deck, then check the description box below and enter in that. But otherwise, I will see you next time for a personalized reading. You can also check that below. Yes, I love you. I'll see you next time. Bye. Scrappy! Scrappy! It's my dog. Well, not my dog. It's the roommate's dog. One of the house dogs. Okay, on to the Industry Stone. for our topic, which is going to be legal. So, disclaimer, I am not a lawyer. I am not a legal expert. So, just keep that in mind. This is an outsider's perspective that will give you insight to what you already know, what you already intuitively feel. I'm just confirmation. If it doesn't resonate with you, then it might mean that it's a pivot against what you already know, right? So either way, I'm going to affirm what you already know. But this is a legal matter, so I would advise getting legal counsel in any way you can, and not relying solely on me. Other thing I wanted to say, because this is the industry stone, this could be a case about work, this could be a case about something to do with your particular industry, but let's see. So we have gentleness with a rain cloud. We have inspiration. I like it. We have the bone collector reversed. And we have rest. Okay, I like this. With gentleness and rest together, this is a strong message that you should take it easy. Maybe you have been too worried about this case. Maybe you have been too fearful about the results. You need to take a break. The bone collector, whenever it's reversed, this talks about something that happened in our past, usually a wound that happened in our past that we have carried around, and we have sort of blamed this person or situation all along, right? And it's this story that we've told all along. You know, my first boyfriend cheated on me, so all men will cheat on me, something like that, right? Or my daddy was an alcoholic, and I'll never be with anyone who isn't an alcoholic, something like that. So the bone collector reversed talks about opportunities where we can go back to that original experience and we can look at it in a different way and realize, oh, that was actually something totally different. Like, that was actually a blessing, but I had been treating it as a burden this whole time, right? So it's like, well, it's that age-old phrase, God's rejection is your protection. So at the time, you might have felt like a sense of injustice, a sense of unfairness. We are talking about something that's legal, right? And so you may have been like, oh, fuck them. Sorry for my language, but screw them, blah, 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 this isn't fair, blah, blah, blah. And then when you go back to this information, you're going to realize, oh, like, God was putting that in my path for a reason. So you go back to the bone collector, you go back to that original wound, and it's an opportunity to empower yourself with that original wound. So it's like, you could not have learned this lesson any other way than this shitty situation, right? So in a sense, God gave you like the biggest magic wand from the shittiest experience, right? So in this case, what I think is going to happen is there's going to be some information that was overlooked. And I feel like your legal counsel is going to have to go back and find it. I feel like you're going to have to rest and you're going to have to be gentle with yourself, because you have turned this into more of a burden than it actually is. But actually you have a survivor story. We have inspiration right here. So you're actually going to be an inspiration with this story. But right now you feel like so weighed down by the burden of it, so weighed down by the injustice of it, that you can't see the little golden nugget that it was in your past. It's kind of a hard concept to explain to others because it's one of those things like, well, are you saying that I meant for this to happen to me? That I meant for this injustice to happen to me? I would never wish this on anyone. Blah, 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 blah. But your experience is going to help, I'm hearing, empower others, to be an inspiration to others. Like your case is going to be an inspiration for others. It's going to be a case study in some cases. But right now, you just need to take a break from it, rest, trust that your legal counsel has it under control. If you don't have legal counsel, you need to get some, because they're going to see things that you're not going to be able to see with this bone collector. And they're going to be able to go through your past and get a piece of information that you missed or that you looked at in a different way. They're going to be able to look at it in the right way to bring justice to the situation and to give you that big magic wand over the situation. Let's get some clarifiers though. Spirit, 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 can you clarify rest, gentleness, inspiration, and the bone collector? I see bone right here, so right now I'm getting some of you, it may be like an injury case where you broke a bone. Let me know if that's the case. I would like, I like those synchronicities like that. Spirit, Spirit, Spirit. Could you clarify rest, gentleness, bone collector, and inspiration? One more shuffle. Thank you for your patience. We have the Five of Pentacles, we have the Fool, and we have the Six of Pentacles reversed. Six of Pentacles does have a scale in it, like the scales of justice. Sad thing I do want to mention. I feel like this is one of these instances where you may not win the case, but you may reach a settlement in some way. So it's like on paper you lose, but you may get out of it, or the reverse. Like you may have to pay out, but you end up winning, something like that. Whatever this is, there's going to be a clean slate. I do think it's going to be some sort of settlement, some sort of payout, and it's going to give you a new beginning. But there is going to feel, it is going to feel a little bit unfair. But it will be an inspiration for other cases. It will be a case study for other cases. And it will ultimately lead to a sense of empowerment. But something is, it's not going to be tied up with like a pretty bow. I also feel like it's going to take some humility to reach this agreement. Yeah, so let me know. You could be dealing with an Aries or a Pisces. They're showing up a lot in these readings. But I love you very much. For a personal reading, check the description box below. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. If you would like to win Morgan-GREER Tarot in a 10, also check the description box. I love you very much, and I'll see you next time. Bye. For the last but not least, our Heartstone, we have the Dark Night of the Soul. So This could trigger a lot of you. So just make sure, if I trigger you, that your responses are heart-centered, and don't be mean to me. Don't be mean to me. Because we're doing the best we can. We have spontaneity. We have don't take it personally. We have coming apart. And we have imagination. So I feel like you might have recently gone through a breakup with this coming apart card, right? A splitting. And you may have internalized it, thinking maybe you're not good enough. It may have spontaneously happened, right? And you may have taken it personally, like, what could I have done to be a better partner, right? Like, did she leave me because I'm not this, I'm not X, Y, and Z? Did he cheat on me because I didn't do X, Y, and Z? But this is reminding you not to take it personally. I feel like perhaps this was just a situation where it ran its course, and although it seemed like it was very spontaneous and very all of a sudden and abrupt, it was probably already happening that you were unaware of. And I want to say that maybe some of the reason why things fell apart is because there might have been some suspicion on your part as a result of taking it personally, that you imagined things that were not true in your head, right? And like, we all did this. I'm guilty of it too. But it's like imagining the worst, you know, like someone doesn't call you, it's like, is he seeing other girls? You know, like imagining like all the like, it's whenever you let your suspicions run away with you, right? Whenever, because in the traditional Seven of Cups, all the cups are filled with different things. One cup is filled with jewels, one cup is filled with like a beautiful princess, and then another cup is filled with a dragon, and another cup is filled with a snake, right? So those dragons and those snakes, those types of imaginations, like as much as you can imagine castles in the sky, you can also imagine the worst, especially when it comes to the past. So I feel like this dark night of the soul, you're being put in this situation to go through a journey by yourself, right, to come apart. And even if you haven't separated with someone, this coming apart situation, this coming apart card, sometimes I see it as like you are unraveling, right? So it has nothing to do with like a partnership or someone external in your life. Like, you are coming apart, right? Like, you are changing. Keep in mind that you may be going through a really dark time right now, where you feel like you're losing your mind, you feel like you're unraveling, you might be going through severe depression right now, you might be imagining the worst out of situations throughout this depression, but whenever we go through dark nights of the soul, it's a level up in spirituality. We came to Earth to experience a very challenging life. Earth is a very hard life to live. There's a lot of human suffering. We have this brain virus in our heads that says we're not good enough, that says, you know, we're not loved, that says we can't do it. And so whenever you go through a dark night of the soul, it's because you are building immunity to human suffering so that you can heal it. It's a very like Chiron principle type of experience. It's like you have to undergo this level of suffering so that you can have compassion for those who are suffering, so that you can bring light to their situations whenever you make it to the other side. So I encourage you to persevere throughout this dark time, because it's actually making this process is actually making your soul stronger. And I mean, if it is like chronic depression or anything, then definitely take your meds and go to professionals, seek professional help. But the spiritual experience is a way to make your spirit stronger so that you can ascend from the earth, ascend from human suffering, ascend from to build that immunity against those brain viruses, right? Build that immunity against those imaginations that spontaneously take you to the worst imaginations. Let's get some clarifiers. I like, there was a tweet I saw like months and months ago that said, everything is falling apart just as it's meant to be, or something like that. So whenever you have these tower moments where things feel like the universe is against you, people are rejecting you, your life is falling apart, then usually that means that it's falling into place, right? I do feel like with this Six of Cups that you're going to have to go back. You're going to have to go through, you might have to do some inner child work. You might have to, I don't necessarily think I'm not feeling past life regression, but that might be helpful for you too. I feel like this is more inner child work that you're going to have to do. It's like a wound that you never really healed, and that it's coming up now for your dark night of the soul so that you can nip it in the bud now. It's like you were just a kid and you didn't have the wherewithal to handle it at the time, so you created this sort of shell that has come apart now, right? That your shell has been cracked open, cracked off, and so now it's about dealing with that problem that you weren't able to deal with whenever you were a kid. It has something to do with your value system. It could be that, and this could be any number of things. This, at the very least, it could be like your parents getting divorced, because the Hierophant does represent marriage. But it can also be, the Hierophant represents religion, so this could be coming from a strict religious background. This could be, you know, not going to church at all, and then all of a sudden you like need spirituality in your life, something like that. But whatever the case may be, whatever value system you had as a kid, whether that was going to church all the time or whether you came from a secular household, this is about not being in alignment with what that value system was, right? You were something different than what you originally came from, and this again is something from your past and your childhood. So this is like you know, maybe you had to like put a shell on to like put this mask on to be in this shell, to be accepted into this belief system, to be accepted into this value culture that didn't quite fit you. But now that it's unraveled, it's like there's no need to like, you may be having like a muscle memory reaction from a belief system that wasn't fully yours to begin with, right? So you may be reacting as a result of how you were brought up in your family, in a church, in it could even be school, some sort of institution, right? How you thought things should be, and it was like indoctrinated in you, right? So it was just like second nature, but it never gave you an opportunity to really like think for yourself, and how that has created your inner world, right? But these are all learning experiences. The Ten of Swords is a card about finally getting the lesson, and it looks like really scary. It's about a guy who's been stabbed in the back 10 times. So there's been a lot of betrayal, there's been a lot of hurt, a lot of pain, a lot of backstabbing, but because there's been so much, you've grown so numb to it that pain can't hurt you anymore, right? That you have learned the lessons to, surmount that pain. And so there can't be another sword. There's not an 11 of swords. This is the last one. It's the last pain you'll experience, and you know better now, right? Like, you're battle tested. And like I said, with this immunity card, it's like when we get the chicken pox, we're itchy, we're bumpy, we're all red. We can't, we have to lock ourselves inside whenever we have the chicken pox, and we have to, like, take a bath in calamine lotion. But once we experience the chicken pox, then we don't get the chicken pox again, right? So once you experience this dark night of the soul, I'm not going to say that you, well, no. Once you experience this dark night of the soul, you will be better equipped to handle the hardness of life, right? Because I said the earth was the hardest training that you could get, right? So it's like you've been trained. You have earned that certificate of life. And it's a result of fighting those battles. But you do have to, this is a card about conflict. To me, it's like competition of ideas, because it is the sword suit. It is about thought. It is about our mental capacity. So what you're going to have to do is revisit your belief systems of the past and sort of like duke it out. You're going to have to ask yourself, like, why? You know, like the question all children ask, why? You know, whether it's, what example can I give? You know, you can't have sex before marriage. Why? Right? Something like that. And you're going to have to find a way throughout this process to sort of one-up that indoctrination, right? So you're going to have to come up with a better idea against the idea that has been drilled into you. And I want to say that sometimes the Five of Swords reminds me of like political debates, right? So let's think about like two different candidates, right? How do you set yourself apart? With these Five of Swords, you might have like 5 different issues, and each candidate comes up with a different solution to the issues, right? So let's say that this is you, and then this is the church, the school, the family, the institution that you had been indoctrinated with. And they say, here are these issues, and here is how you solve them. You are going to have to come up with a counter argument to win over your opponent. Got it? So these conflicts in your head, I feel like maybe some of you came from like churches where they like shamed and guilted you so much that you were like scared of going to hell. You know, like I said, with this imagination, like some of the cups have like dragons and snakes in them, so you're like terrified or have been terrified that like if you do X, Y, and Z, then it's going to be hellfire and brimstone, when really, no. Right? So you're going to have to win over that opponent who's got you sort of trapped in this imaginary fear you're going to have to come up with counter arguments to knock every indoctrination you've had out of the park. Whew, love it. Let me know how your dark night of the soul is going. I know it is a very difficult experience to go through, and like I said, if you are suffering from chronic depression, please get help. If you do have suicidal thoughts, please, I'll put a comment to a suicide hotline, because it is serious. I don't want any of you to go out like that, because this process is not to give up, is not to take it personally. This process that you're experiencing, where you feel like your mind's being split into two, the world is being rocked, you're fearful of going against what you've always known, you're put into this situation to create heaven on earth. Whenever we go into the dark night of the soul, it's so that we can see that contrast and pivot towards the light. This is meant to, this experience that you're going through is meant to inject light into the situation. It's meant to be part of light work. But first you have to go through the dark to get to the light. Light! First you have to go through this experience to know the contrast of going into the darkest part of yourself to get to the lightest part of yourself. I hope that made sense. I really do love you, and I will see you next time. If you would like a personal reading, please feel free to reach out to me. All my information is in the description box below. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. I will see you next time. Bye.